Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I'm going to be sharing with you quite a big book haul. I did not count how many books I have, but I have some stacks of books around me that I'm going to share with you that have entered my home since the beginning of the year. A couple in December. A lot of these are because I have a slight obsession with PangoBooks. But I also have some book of the month. I have some gifted books, some books that I purchased for myself, as well as some from my Once Upon a Book Club book box. I did stop halfway through the month of December doing the shorts. I was hoping to continue all the way through the month, but I did not continue all the way through the month. So let me just share with you some of my favorite things that I opened in my 12 Days of Christmas book box from Once Upon a Book Club. I've saved just a few of the tchotchke items. I will share with you, I'll take a picture actually. One of them was a long, like a table runner with quotes from books on it. And I have that hanging along the side of my bookshelf right now, my middle grade bookshelf, as you walk into my library. And I really like it there, but I'm going to get some command strips to kind of help hold it onto the bookshelf better. It's just kind of hanging there right now. So I really like that. I love this little TBR jar, this little clay jar. It says to be read and it has like a bank opening. I don't currently use a TBR jar, but I think it will be cute on my shelves and potentially someday I could. I like spinner wheels right now. That's where I'm at. But someday I might want to do something with a jar. So I've got that, which I think is really cute. One of the things that I love is this little pencil case that looks like a library card. So cute. And that came with just some tabs and a ruler. This will be great to keep with my reading journal. To have that ruler will be super helpful. And I don't annotate or tab my books right now, but I could use those for different things. We'll see. But those came in that little pencil pouch. Cute. The only other item that I'm going to keep are these book cookie cutters. So this one is like a flat impress. You press it onto the front of a cookie. And then this one is a cutout cookie of an open book. I just think those are really cute. So I will keep those. I don't really make that kind of sugar cookie right now, but if I ever did, I would have it. I'm also in a decluttering thing this year, so maybe it won't last through the year, but we'll see. Then some of the books that I got, I am keeping all 4 of the books. I'm excited about all 4 of these books, actually. The first one is called She Wouldn't Change a Thing by Sarah Adlaka. And I think this is like a sliding doors kind of a thing. Diane Chamberlain says it's a mind-bending story. It reminds me of The Dream Daughter, actually, that cover. A second chance is the last thing she wants. 39-year-old Maria wakes up in her 17-year-old body. Yeah, so it's like a Freaky Friday kind of a thing. Sounds really interesting. Ooh. They also sent a Tracy Garvis Graves book. Has a sticker on there, but that I think can come off pretty easily. This is Heard It in a Love Song. I've heard good things about this, and I have liked another book I read by Tracy Garvis Graves. This was going to be a contemporary. Our main character, Layla, is recently divorced and kind of attempting love for a second time. Is she brave enough to just go for it or not? That's what that's going to be about. Then they sent a historical called The Duchess by Wendy Holden. This is about about Wallace, who marries the Prince of Wales, who abdicates his throne for her. So that's in 1928, historical fiction in England. And then a thriller, One by One by Ruth Ware. I did not care for The Woman in Cabin 10, really at all, because I don't like an unreliable narrator. And then I didn't mind The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I didn't mind it. So I have One by One by her now, thank you to Once Upon a Book Club. So I like that there are some authors that I recognize and also some that I don't. I thought that was a great treat for myself in the month of December. Then let's go ahead and do this stack of ones that I purchased or were gifted to me. I just have one that was gifted to me this month, and Becca from Becca Books in Bujo surprised me with this treat in the mail the other day. Otter by Catherine Applegate. Look at that adorable cover. Holy moly. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. I love Catherine Applegate. She's one of my favorite middle grade authors. And this is going to be about an otter named Otter. Well, this is a book in verse. I did not realize that it was going to be in verse. I think I knew that and then I forgot. But there are some really cute little illustrations and also some full page illustrations as well. This is really sweet. is definitely going on my middle grade March TBR. She sent this to me because I invited her to join me for a live. And that was our first time kind of having a real conversation back and forth. And so that was really sweet. I loved having her and did not expect this little treat in the mail. Thank you, Becca. That was very, very kind of you. These next ones I purchased at Barnes & Noble. I was returning a book that had been gifted to me of something that I already owned. And I was way past the 60-day limit or whatever, but the manager just said, go ahead and exchange it. So I exchanged it plus a little extra. Like I paid a little extra for both of these. One of my goals in 2023 is to complete 6 series. One of the series that I think I might want to complete is this middle grade series by Margaret Peterson Haddix. Greystone Secrets is the name of the series. The Strangers was book 1, The Deceivers is book 2, and The Messengers is book 3. This is kind of a sci-fi fantasy type story. Not fantasy. This is kind of a sci-fi story of these kids, siblings, whose mom just kind of runs off one day, leaves them with family friends or something, and vanishes. And then on the news, they hear about these children who match their ages and birthdays and this sibling group that matches who they are, and they don't understand what's going on. And so the first book is them trying to find their mom and figure out what's going on. And then these two just continue that story. I really enjoyed the first one and look forward to reading more. Another series that I went ahead and got all of them is one that I started in 2022. I read Miss Bunkle's book, and I did listen to it on audio because I didn't own it, but I really, really loved it. And it's one that I could see myself revisiting because it was just so sweet and lovely. So I wanted to own Miss Bunkle's book. And then I had heard from some people in the comments, not very many had even heard of it before, but some people really did like the whole series, especially book 4. So I went ahead, I found this one on Pango, but then these ones were cheaper to just get from Amazon. And I did use some money that I get when I put the links in the description and you guys shop from those links. Even if you end up buying something else, I get a small commission from just you using those links. So if you're ever headed to Amazon, feel free to just click one of my links and buy whatever you're going to buy, because I do get a tiny bit from there and I really appreciate that. So I used some of my Amazon bucks for some of this, and then I added what I needed to complete the series. But I got Miss Bunkle married to the 2 Mrs. Abbotts, and then the 4 Graces is the last one. So I'm really excited to read this whole series. I feel like it will be a great palate cleanser in between some other things if the rest of them are as delightful as Miss Bunkle. I'm very hopeful. The last thing I got from Amazon that I wanted to share with you is I purchased this Bible study because my word of the year is steadfast. And so I found a couple different Bible studies, and I was going to just get all of them. And then like, hey, let's just get one at a time. So after I finished going through my list of words, I Googled the word steadfast and verses that go with it. And I printed it, like compiled it into one list and printed that out. So my quiet time right now is just going through that list and writing out some of those verses and thinking about them and reading them. After I finish that, I'm going to go ahead and do this Bible study called Steadfast Love by Lauren Chandler. And then I went ahead and got the Bible study like workbook that goes with it. So this is just a study of Psalm 107 in which the word steadfast is repeated over and over and over, talking about God's love for us. So this is just more of a workbook and a Bible study. And this is more just like you read this first and then go ahead and do the study. So I am going to read this and do it and then potentially lead a small group at my church using it. So I don't know if we're going to get that far, but I would like to. We'll see. Before I get to the Pango books, I do just have a few books from Book Outlet that I picked up this month. I don't remember. I think both of the first 2 were choices for January. So I have Independence by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. This is 3 sisters, their deep bond, and the struggle for India's freedom. So I love the idea of it being set in India during the time of the partition in 1947. So it's historical, but it's also a family story of these 3 sisters. I think that's going to be fantastic. And I'm very pleasantly pleased to see that it's not a chunkamunka. And then I have another historical that from this month's book of the month called Queen of Thieves by B.Z. Marsh. There can only be one. And I love the idea of this because it's a historical adventure, which is kind of fun, about a ring of bold and resourceful female thieves in post-World War II London. The third one that I chose for January is an older choice. It wasn't from January, but it's Bomb Shelter by Mary Laura Philpott, Love, Time, and Other Explosives. This is actually a collection of essays, so it's a nonfiction. Bomb Shelter tackles the big questions of life, death, and existential fear, not to mention the mystery of backyard turtles and the challenges of spatchcocking a turkey with joy, candor, and stubborn hope. Oof, I love the phrase stubborn hope so much. And I just am excited to try a book of essays. So have that on my shelves for someday. The last section of books here, which is quite a few still, are all books that I have grabbed from PangoBooks. So I didn't use any new money. I sold books on Pango and used some of my PangoBooks to purchase these books. So since I just did a nonfiction, I'll go ahead and do another nonfiction, Isaac's Storm by Eric Larson, a Man, a Time, and the Deadliest Hurricane in History. It's just going to talk about the Galveston hurricane that hit in 1900. It's a story of what can happen when human arrogance meets the uncontrollable force of nature. I'm excited. I have quite a few Eric Larson books on my shelves now. I really need to try him this year and see if he's an author that I'm going to like or not. I also grabbed Delay, Don't Deny by Jen Stevens. This is an intermittent fasting book about why, and I think Fast, Feast, Repeat is her newer book. I think it's the same author actually. So I'm not sure if there's a lot of overlap in these books or not, but I just threw it in one of my Pango orders to either get free shipping or something. I just added it. I have 3 that are kind of focused on books. So I have The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. This was super popular a year or 2 ago when it first came out, and I'm kind of bummed because it is an ARC and you're not supposed to resell ARCs. And I didn't think that I realized I was getting an ARC when I purchased it. So I'm a little bummed about that, but it's okay. This one takes place in a library. An elderly man comes in to find a book because he wants to connect with his teenage daughter. Meanwhile, there's a teenage worker at the library, or a young woman. I don't know if she's a teenager or a young woman. Oh yeah, she is a teenager working at the library for the summer. And she discovers a crumpled up piece of paper in the back of To Kill a Mockingbird, a list of novels that she's never heard before. And so she starts to read them, and then there's a connection between her and this older man who comes in and the reading list that they both read from. I just think that sounds really lovely. Susan Mallory is an author that I read a book at Christmas time by her. It was the first Susan Mallory book that I've read, and this one is The Boardwalk Bookshop. Looks like a nice summertime read. 3 strangers get connected in this seaside town in California, on the California coast. They find this space that's for rent or for lease, and they decide to rent it together. One of them does kind of a bookshop, one of them does a gift shop, and one of them does a bakery, and they kind of combine it all into one business, and then their friendship becomes more like family. It just sounds really lovely, summertime read. This next one is a little bit more historical. I'll See You in Paris by Michelle Gable. But a book is what connects the 2 timelines. So we have 2 different timelines, and it's going to follow the storied real life of Gladys Spencer Churchill, the Duchess of Marlborough. Summary at the top says 3 women born generations apart, one mysterious book that threads their lives together, a journey of love, discovery, and truth. So I'm excited about a book that binds the storylines together, and I don't really know much more than that, but I'm interested. Since that one was historical, I'll do the 4 others I have that are historical as well. One of them is by an author that I've read before, Hazel Gaynor. This one is A Memory of Violets, and this is a novel of London's flower sellers. We have 2 timelines in here. 1876, in the midst of the flower markets, there's sisters from Ireland, Flora and Rosie. They're selling posies of violets and watercress to survive. One of the sisters goes missing, I believe. They become separated, and the decision of a desperate woman sets their lives on very different paths. And then we have 1912, where 21-year-old Tilly Harper leaves the peace and beauty of her Lake District home for London to become an assistant house mother at one of Mr. Shaw's training houses for watercress and flower girls. For years, these homes have cared for orphans and crippled flower girls, getting them off the streets. For Tilly, the appointment is a fresh start, a chance to leave her troubled past behind. But then she finds a notebook that belongs to one of those 2 sisters from the earlier timeline, and she's determined to find the other sister. That just sounds really, really good. I've read a couple Hazel Gaynor books and really enjoyed them, so I think I will love that as well. I have a book set in Texas during World War II at a Japanese internment camp, The War Outside by Monica Hess. and Hess. And this is about two young girls who are put together at the camp. One is Japanese and one is not. And they kind of have a secret friendship that they strike up. And I'm just really excited to read another book set at Japanese internment camps. I don't think there are enough of them. Stacey Lee is an author who wrote Luck of the Titanic, which I really want to read, but this is Outrun the Moon. This one takes place in San Francisco in 1906, and so it's going to surround the San Francisco earthquake. But we follow Mercy Wong, who is determined to break away from the poverty that she has found in Chinatown, and she wants to get an education at St. Clair's School for Girls, kind of a boarding school, and she manages to get in, but finds that that was not the hardest part. Getting in was not the hardest part. So it's going to have this kind of dual, like the world events at the time is that San Francisco is going to have an earthquake and fire, but also we follow this Chinese girl at a boarding school struggling with fitting in and trying to make her way in the midst of all these spoiled heiresses. She stands strong until disaster strikes. Sounds really good. And then this last one is kind of historical / mystery. We have Lost Boy Found by Kirsten Alexander. It takes place in 1913 in Louisiana, where this one family, 4-year-old Sonny Davenport, walks into the woods and never returns. And his parents are desperate to try to find him. They are never able to find him until years later. He's found, a young boy is found in the company of a tramp, but is he truly Sonny Davenport? So apparently this other woman had lost her young son and thought Sonny was hers. We don't really know. Does he belong to this homeless woman or does he belong to this family? Is it Sonny? Is it someone else? We don't really know. It says, as two desperate mothers fight for the boy, everyone will start to choose sides, testing loyalties, the notion of truth, and the meaning of the word family. Well, that sounds so good. And speaking of mysteries, I have a couple others here. I did go ahead and get another Ruth Ware, The Turn of the Key. This was another one that a lot of people really liked. So I don't know anything about it because this is only blurbs. But I suppose with a thriller, that's kind of what you want. But tell me, does this have an unreliable narrator? Because I really don't care for that. And I know that's a popular trope with mystery books. But The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I also picked up The Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. I heard about this first, I believe, on Currently Reading podcast, but then very recently, Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day added it to her TBR. So I was like, oh, interesting. I believe this is kind of a book within a book type of a story, and it might get really confusing. It interweaves a classic whodunit worthy of Agatha Christie with an equally ingenious modern-day mystery that transforms the reader into the detective. What? So Alan Conway is our main character. He's a best-selling crime writer. His editor has worked with him for years, and she's also intimately familiar with his detective Atticus, who solves mysteries, disturbing sleepy English villages. His traditional formula pays homage to queens of classic British crime such as Agatha Christie and Dorothy Sayers. It's proved hugely successful, so successful that Susan must continue to put up with this troubling behavior if she wants to keep her job. When she receives his latest manuscript, in which Atticus investigates a murder at Pye Hall, an English manor house, she has no reason to think it will be any different from the others. There will be dead bodies, a cast of intriguing suspects, and plenty of red herrings and clues. But the more Susan reads, the more she realizes that there's another story hidden in the pages of the manuscript, one of ambition, jealousy, and greed, and that soon it will lead to murder. Dun, dun, dun. So I guess there's a mystery in the manuscript, but also a mystery surrounding the manuscript. And I believe there's a whole separate book in here. I hope it's easy to decipher which is which. I guess we'll find out. But sounds intriguing to me for sure if I can figure it out. And then I have a book called A Sudden Light by Garth Stein. Okay, so he's the author of The Art of Racing in the Rain. And initially, I just loved the cover of this and I didn't even realize who the author was. But this does not have a dog main character, so I think I'll be okay. It actually has a family confronting long-buried secrets while it seeks forgiveness and redemption in this breathtaking story in the Pacific Northwest. So it takes place in 1990s Pacific Northwest. 14-year-old Trevor gets his first glimpse of Riddle House. Built from the spoils of massive timber fortune, the legendary family mansion is constructed. A giant hold trees and is set on a huge estate overlooking the Puget Sound. This house supposedly is like haunted, has secret and hidden rooms. He discovers a spirit lingering in the house whose agenda is at odds with the family plan. Only Trevor's willingness to face the dark past of his forefathers will reveal the key to his family home. I mean, that sounds kind of cool to me. So I added it to my pile. And the last one today is a Christian fiction, 9, by Rochelle Decker. Rochelle Decker is the daughter of Ted Decker. Ted Decker is an author that I used to say was my favorite. I haven't read him recently, so I don't think I can say that right now. But this is a little bit of a mystery, maybe suspenseful. Some secrets can't stay hidden. Zoe works at a diner, and one day a teenager walks in, a wide-eyed, bedraggled teenager with no memory walks into the diner. And against her better judgment, Zoe, who's trying to outrun her own painful memories of the past, finds herself trying to help this girl who doesn't seem to have any past at all. And together, they must follow the only sure thing they know. A woman hundreds of miles away will either save them or be the last person to see them alive. Dun, dun, dun. So that is all of the books that I am adding to my shelves in January. I feel like I need to put a pause on Pango because I have a ton of books here. A ton of books here. And while it's fun to add books to my shelves, I'm also very excited about the books that are already on my shelves. So I need to put a pause on Pango for now. We'll see. I'm not putting myself on a ban. I'm not saying, no, Krista, you cannot buy any books. I'm just saying, let's read a little bit from our shelves for a while. So hopefully, if I have a haul in February, it's much smaller than this. We shall see. One can never tell. But I do have so many that I'm excited about. I would love to chat with you about any of the books I added to my shelves in this video. Did you see any new favorites? Any that you're interested in? I would love to chat with you about them in the comments down below. And thank you so much for taking some time to hang out with me for another big old book haul. I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.